There we go. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our second to last Give STL Day training, Donor Stewardship, Keep the Momentum Going. We're really excited to have Linda Haley from Let's Build Hope here again with us. In this training, you're going to learn how to make Give STL Day the springboard for the rest of your fundraising year. Linda will define stewardship and how it can be used to turn the flywheel of philanthropy, guide you on how to build short and long-term stewardship plans to maximize Give STL Day results, how to empower volunteers to assist in stewardship efforts, resulting in more gifts. So obviously today's training is being recorded. It will be available on our website afterwards. We will post the link and the PDF to the presentation. Please feel free to drop questions in the chat because we'll have a Q&A once Linda's done with her training. And Linda, I'm going to go ahead and let you take it from here.
Great. Thank you so much, Emily. And good morning, everyone. Good Tuesday, gloomy morning. I'm missing the sun from yesterday. I bet you guys are too. As Emily said, I'm Linda Haley, President and CEO of Let's Build Hope, a local consulting firm. We are so excited to get an opportunity to support you guys as you work on your Give STL Day preparations. I know that's coming right up. So hopefully today's presentation will help you both in the immediate, here's what we got to do for Give STL Day to be good stewards, and then also in the larger concept of how you build stewardship programs at your nonprofit. So let's get started. First of all, we're going to just start with the basic definition of stewardship, and you think, oh, I know what that is. That's thanking people. Well, kind of. So we're going to go into a little bit more detail. There are really four major elements of stewardship. And those four things are gift acceptance and management. So that's taking the gift and managing it. All right. Acknowledging the gift. That's letting the donor know that you've received the gift and that here's the tax stuff that goes around that. Obviously, thanking them. A recognition, how you let other people know what they have done. And then reporting. And that kind of involves a lot of people reporting back to the donors and funders and to the community, because obviously we are nonprofits. And I don't know if you've thought about this before, but nonprofits are actually owned by the community. Like a founder doesn't own a nonprofit, the board does not own the nonprofit, the community owns a nonprofit, and the board acts as the representative of the stakeholders. So when you think about reporting, you're really reporting back to the people who own the company, all right? So good way to think about that. All right, we're going to go into some depth on each one of these. You guys will see I made a little bit of an effort this time, and I gave you some memes because I know sitting at the Zoom can be boring, so feel free to giggle at my, Anchorman meme up there in the corner. All right, so first let's talk about gift acceptance and management. First of all, you have to have a way of keeping your donor and gift records that provides accuracy, who gave the gift, what they gave, and what they gave it for, and an audit trail, because if you ever get audited or a donor gets audited, you have to have all that information. Most of you, I hope, have databases and are not using Excel or Access or any of those kinds of things. If you are, you might want to think that through. I have to tell you, we work with a lot of smaller clients, and sometimes they'll have the inability to get a hold of the donor information that they need. And that makes fundraising really, really hard. So if you have thoughts or questions about databases, feel free to put those in the chat, because certainly that's something we can talk about at the end. There are lots of them. We want you not to, we kind of say, don't kill a fly with a sledgehammer. Make sure you have a database that fits you, right? The kind that's the right amount of power, kind of coupled with the right, cost, so that you can accurately take care of your donors and their gifts. Number two, this is one people don't think about. You have to have a clear understanding of the organizational need, like what is exactly that you're raising the money for. And then this is the tough part, the willingness to say no to a gift and to stand by that organizational boundary if you get gifts that you can't manage. And you think, well, Linda, how would we ever do that? Well, for those of you who've been down the pike a year or two, you're going to find at some point a donor's going to say, I'm going to give you this money, but you have to do this specific thing with it. And that thing is outside what you do, right? Now you've got a donor who's basically saying, here's how you're going to practice your mission or fulfill it through your programming. And that's a boundary, right? If you've ever had a large donor provide, potentially a large gift, but to say you have to do this, and it's off mission, it's off brand, it's out of organizational boundaries, sometimes you have to say no. I did once in my life have to say no to a, wait for it, $8 million gift. The board and I had lots of long conversations about that, but the donor wanted the programming in a specific area where our children with autism could not be. And so we had to say no. It was hard. So don't think that won't happen to you. At some point it will, but you do need to know your organizational boundaries because we are stewards of the mission, right? Number 3, you have to make sure that you can manage donor restrictions. So when you're asking, you can say to a donor, please give us money that we can spend any way we'd like. Donors often say, Linda, I don't care. Just get the job done. We know you, we trust you, use the money however, you think is best. But very often donors say, I only want my money to go to this programming. Sometimes donors will say, I don't want to pay for any overhead, which hurts my heart because, as you guys all know, we are overhead, right? Fundraisers are overhead, CFOs, CEOs, databases, annual reports, payroll systems, that's all overhead, but the companies couldn't run without them. So you are going to have some awareness around that. Here's the thing, guys. If a donor restricts a gift, you have to do what they say with the money, okay? That is a stewardship responsibility. There's no wiggle room there. You can say no. You can ask the donor to open the restriction, but you have to do what they've asked you to do with the gift. And then finally, and I don't know if you have it or not, you'll need at some point a gift acceptance policy. And a gift acceptance policy basically means these are the kinds of gifts we receive. These are the boundaries that we have. These are the ways that we can receive your gifts. We can receive cash, we can receive stocks, we can receive crats and cruts and bequests and all those things. You have to have a policy that sort of says what you can and can't do and what you will and won't do. And again, you may be thinking, well, Linda, why would we need that? Well, so what if somebody wants to give you a piece of property, right? Here, I'm going to put you in my will and I'm going to leave you my 500-acre farm. And you think, wow, that's really cool, Linda, let's do that. I'll give you an example of a group that we had out in California, and a donor left them a bunch of property and they did not do their due diligence. They just accepted it. And on that property was an old mine that was leaching chemicals. And the donor had left it to them knowing it had to be managed and maintained to the tune of about $100,000 a year. And they were stuck with it because they accepted it. They didn't do their due diligence. They didn't set boundaries. So you may think to yourself, Linda, it doesn't make that big of a deal. And I know we're talking about Give STL Day, but we're also talking about stewardship in general. So a gift acceptance policy is awesome. If you don't have one, you need at least a little bitty one, a little baby one. And if you need samples of that, you can put that in the chat and Emily can get your information and I'll send you some of those, because a gift acceptance policy approved by the board of directors is really important. So that's the basics of gift acceptance and management. All right, let's go on to acknowledgement. And I know that you guys are all already doing this, but I'm going to encourage you to just take it to a new level. You want to make sure that when you get a gift, and especially around Give STL Day, you do that acknowledgement. You acknowledge the receipt of that gift in an accurate, timely, and meaningful way, okay? And when you say, well, first of all, donors' probably biggest complaint in acknowledgement would ever be that you got their name wrong, okay? So you want to make sure that you're very careful about getting their name right, getting their salutation right. If they like to be recognized separately because the wife says, I gave the gift, my husband and I didn't give it, you're going to have to get to know your donors and ask them often how they like to be thanked. Timely for us with our clients, we say 24 to 48 hours. And I will tell you, think, oh my gosh, Linda, I'm the only fundraiser, or maybe I'm the only staff member and I'm so busy. But let me tell you something. If I give you a gift, even $100 or $150, and you don't acknowledge that gift for a month, you know what that says to me as a donor? You don't need my money and you don't care, right? And the last thing you ever want to say to a donor is we don't need your support and we don't care. And I know that isn't true. And I know that's not what you mean when you don't get your acknowledgements out, but that is what the donor feels, all right? You didn't even take the time to acknowledge, right, that I stopped everything and gave you a gift. So make sure that you're careful. Also be aware that the generic acknowledgement of gifts like this, especially when you give online and you get this sort of generic bounce back, thank you for your gift. That is the first step, but it's not all the steps. So we'll talk about that in more detail as we go along. I will tell you, if you're looking at how you can stand out in the nonprofit crowd, acknowledgement is one of the best ways. Stewardship is one of the best ways, because nonprofits are unfortunately kind of woeful at saying thank you and saying it well and quickly and effectively and accurately. And so if you're thinking, wow, I want to stand out during this Give STL Day, or I want to stand out from all the other 13,000 nonprofits there are in St. Louis, this is a great way to do it. It's to do a great job of thanking your donors and to do it with a lot of sincerity and care. And again, we're going to give you some examples of how to do that as we go along. Next, you can think about recognition as part of the stewardship group. And you really want to make sure that when you recognize somebody, you recognize them the way they'd like to be recognized, right? Again, making sure specifics are taken care of, like their name is spelled right, or their salutations are listed correctly. And you do, especially for larger gifts, want to ask the donor, how would you like to be recognized, right? You want to tell them what opportunities exist for recognition if the gifts are larger. You will have to think about institutional values and boundaries. How are we able to recognize donors? You don't want to just say, well, this donor is bigger and we think they're important, so even though they only gave $500, we're going to put their name somewhere. You have to be thoughtful organizationally about how you're going to recognize donors. Obviously, recognition is usually public. Sometimes it's private or in a private setting, but most of the time donors are recognized publicly. It can include things like recognizing your giving club or donor societies, recognition in newsletters, annual reports, social media. I would say in most cases, unless you've asked permission, we do avoid saying how much a donor has given, all right? I know some of you in your annual reports will list by segment, 10,000 and over, or 5 to 10, or 2,500 to 5,000. I have to tell you, as a fundraiser, I don't like to do that. And here's the reason why. Because other fundraisers are going to come and find your little donors who are over 5,000, and they're going to try to steal them, right? Because like, oh, there's some rich donors who love what I love and do what we do. And so also, I think it does have a tendency, that's one thing, it's a little joke, but kind of not. And then there's another reason, and that is because if I'm a $50 donor, and I get this much recognition, and this person is a $50,000 donor and they get a ton of recognition, what does that say to the $50 donor? You're not that important, right? Your gift doesn't mean that much. It does. It means a lot. Now, I understand you have to steward your bigger donors because they are moving the needle forward faster in a more effective way. However, every dollar does count. From the perspective of just how we treat human beings, right? Treating people with kindness and courtesy and dignity, but also with the fact that we don't know what that donor actually has to give. Just because they gave you $50 doesn't mean that's all they have, right? They may have thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to give you, and maybe they're testing you out. So just be careful to think about how you recognize people. Obviously, if you're in any kind of capital effort, you maybe have walls or bricks or putting your name on the building, those bigger things. Things like endowed chairs or the naming rights to a building or a facility. Those are all bigger pieces of recognition and things that you can do. But again, be thoughtful, have organizational plans around that before you offer any of it. Make sure that those things are equitable, so that if somebody puts their name on the building, you are clear at what level that happens and what level a room is named and what level a brick is named. You have to have that all lined out in advance. All right, let's talk a little bit about reporting. This is sort of the fourth prong of stewardship. And I will tell you, this is one of the most important things, because when I hear stewardship, my first thought is always thanks, okay? That I'm giving sincere thanks and acknowledgement to a donor who's given me a gift. But what I also want to remember is it's thanks and impact, okay? You're always saying, we're so grateful for your gift, and here's what it did. Okay, so as you think about stewardship right now, as you're sort of sitting in this session, I want you to sort of get those two thoughts in your head. When I think about stewardship, I'm going to think about thanking a person really well and showing how their gifts have made a difference. Those are the two main things. And a good way to do that, there are two main ways that we do it. Qualitatively, and that's one of the very best ways to report, by telling stories. And I know if I could see your faces, you'd all be shaking your heads, because when you tell a donor a story about a person or a puppy or someone that's been helped, or how the needle has been moved because they gave a gift, that's when they get really excited, because they're like, wow, I really made an impact. I really made a difference. And most people are giving money because they want to change and save lives, right? And so we want to make sure that we anecdotally let them know how that's been done. Now, I know you have to be careful. Many of you have people that can't be, to have their names on something or have their pictures on something. You will have to be careful about that. You want to be careful always about being protective of those that you serve and support, and give them their dignity. At the same time, very often people want to say thank you and tell their story when they've been helped by your nonprofit. So remember qualitative reporting. The other half of this is quantitative reporting, which is the statistical part of this, all right? First of all, people love to be successful. So make sure you tell them when you're hitting targets. If you set a goal for Give STL Day, you're going to shout that from the rooftop that you hit the goal, and you're going to give the donor all the credit. Holy cow, look what you did. This is amazing. It's very important to show people that together you are successful both in hitting the target and then in explaining what that money will do to change and save lives. Really, really important. Obviously, you're going to do financial reporting, having your 990 done every year, having your audited financials on your website, use your annual report to show how much money came in and how it came in and where it went. You don't have to go into a lot of detail on an annual report, but the donors do want to know sort of how you're spending their money. If you have an endowment, you want to be updating your donors all the time. Those are some examples of sort of the statistical reporting that can be really powerful because people love to hit a target and be successful. All right, now this is a big one, guys. If you don't know about this, this is a thing you can use with your board. Remember, you have access to these PowerPoint presentations that we're using. So if you want this, you certainly can use this slide. When boards hear about fundraising, they have a tendency to always think that means asking, right? When people hear fundraising, they often think that means asking. Well, it really doesn't. Fundraising has all these steps. So let's look at the steps because I want to make sure that you are understanding them and seeing where you're spending your time. Obviously, you have to identify donors, potential donors. You have to qualify them. Do they actually have an interest in our mission? You have to cultivate them, get to know them better, learn more about them, listen about their priorities, tell them about your nonprofit. Then you have to solicit. I don't love the word negotiate, but you do have to solicit the donation. And then you have to steward. That's what we're really focusing on today, thanking and reporting. And then you notice when you do that, the flywheel will take you across to a renewal of that person's gift and a potential referral to other people, right? This is kind of a flywheel. And you note where stewardship is. It's near the bottom, but as the cycle of philanthropy is coming back up to the top, the stewardship is the thing that sends the donor back into the cycle of cultivation and solicitation. One of the things we find with our clients is they don't realize that the stewardship is the thing that allows the donor's heart to stay open so you can start cultivating again for the next gift, okay? So I want you to look at those questions I have there. It says, where do we spend most of our fundraising and planning and time, and where should we? And I believe that most people are focused on the very bottom of the cycle. We're all thinking about how we're gonna ask for the money. Okay, we're gonna do our online campaign, our Give STL, our direct mail, our major gifts, our gala, our trivia night, or whatever we have. We're always thinking about soliciting. What you don't realize is those other boxes on each side of that, cultivation and stewardship, are the places where you should be spending most of your time. Because if you do cultivation and stewardship well, the solicitation phase gets really, really easy. If you are going out and you are finding it hard to talk to your donors about a gift, or you're feeling awkward, or you thinking they're feeling awkward, that's a clue that your cultivation activity and your stewardship activity is not effective enough. So as you look at these things, I want you to start thinking, when I'm building my calendar for Give STL Day, how much cultivation am I doing before? And do I have my stewardship planned for after? So that the day itself can be impactful and effective and exciting and fun. And then you can grab those donors' hearts and really hang on to them, because you're going to do all this hard work. And we want you to really, kind of keep a hold of these people who have shown their love and appreciation for your work on Give STL Day. And then this bottom question, why are stewardship efforts overlooked? And I believe that's because A, we're really busy. B, we've got not a lot of staff. And C, it doesn't have a deadline. How many of you work to deadlines? I work to a deadline. I knew very well when this presentation was and when I had to have my PowerPoint done and what time I needed to get on with Emily. I know my deadline, so that's going to be done, right? But stewardship is a thing that you think, well, I got to get a thank you letter out. And then you sort of think, that's it, click, I got that done, right? But really, stewardship is a much deeper activity. It's the real care for the donor, showing that genuine gratitude and also that conversation about what your money did so we can begin the work again. So if you are a person who needs a deadline on stewardship, guess what? You're going to have a self-imposed one. You're going to have to create your own deadline so that you can get this done. All right, this is an important thing. I hope you really get your arms around this as part of your Give STL Day work, because these boxes around solicitation are really, really important. All right, here's some stewardship must-dos. I love Yoda. That just made me happy seeing his face up there. So first of all, you want this to be accurate, timely, and meaningful. We talked about that. Send that receipt as quickly as you can, 24 hours. Make sure you have some basic gift acceptance language at the bottom. Your gift is tax deductible as allowed by law. No goods or services were provided in exchange for this gift. This is really simple language that you can use in almost everything that you do, unless you have in fact given the donor something, okay, of some kind of value, and then you're going to have to understand fair market value. And so that's going to be, if I bought a gala ticket for $200, but $90 of that ticket paid for food, booze, and entertainment, then I can only deduct, right, $110 because $90 was actually me paying for that, okay? So you do have to show that on your receipts, on your thank you letters when you send them out. And then, of course, you want to do special thanks when that's applicable and reasonable. Now, here's some can-dos. Those are the things you have to do. Here's some things you should do, right? First of all, this is tough. We're busy. We're like, oh, I'm going to write a thank you letter and just use it all year, right? It'll get it done. Thank you for your gift of $25, blah, 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 right? Well, here's what we want you to do. I want you to think about this for a minute. When you contact a donor in any way, whether that's through an email or through a mailed, snail mail receipt, you are spending some of your donor credit, some of that donor's time. If you're going to spend the donor's time, make it good. All right, make it warm, make it personal, make it sincere. Make that donor know that every dollar they give feels good and is important. And that's really, really something that you can do, again, where you can stand out, because people have a tendency to just send a generic thank you letter. I have occasionally written gifts, checks kind of close together or online gifts, and I've gotten the same receipt. And I'm like, seriously, you had me. I opened the envelope or I opened the email. And then instead of really pulling me in and telling me something great, you just said, thank you for your gift of $50, right? So we're going to talk to you about some ways to make this really good, warm, personal, sincere. Make sure the donors know every dollar counts. Here's the thing too, know those donors. If you know the donor really loves your nonprofit and you're sending a thank you letter out, then spend a minute to write a little note and say, you're such a great part of our family. Thank you so much. Smiley face, heart, whatever it is, let them know that you know who they are and that you're grateful. Obviously be accurate again, get the names right, get the numbers right, get the date of the gift on there. Sometimes I get a receipt and I'm trying to figure out when I gave the gift, especially if it's near the end of the year. Is it before the end of the year or after? And I can't find a date. And I'm like, well, you got to date the receipt so I know when the gift was, right? Make sure you do that. Be creative. And there's lots of fun ways to say thank you. We're going to give you some examples of that here in a second. And then use the stewardship for these three things. You want to use stewardship to educate your donors, to inspire them, make them feel excited about it, and to motivate them. That means to move them, right? To get them to do something going forward. So when I'm thinking about stewardship activity, I'm thinking, am I educating, inspiring, or motivating? And the closer to solicitation I am, especially in cultivation, I'm working hard on motivation because I want people to move and do a thing. All right. Okay, now we're going to talk about layered stewardship. And many of you may never have heard of this. This is a concept that, lots of people use, but I've termed it this because I think people have a tendency to think I can only really thank people generically through an e-blast, like the general donor, or I can thank the wealthy donors by really going over the top. But really what you can do is this concept of layered stewardship. And so I'm going to give you an example of layered stewardship. You want to make sure you create a theme or a piece of content, and then you're going to figure out, based on the size of giving, how much time and intensity you can put in that piece of stewardship. So when I spent a year working with a group in Denver, the Jewish community center there's a Jewish holiday called Tu B'Shvat, which is care for the earth, okay? And I wanted to do something special for the donors during that period to say thank you for all their giving. So we got these cute little trees in these little burlap bags, and we had a little tag on there, and it said, something about Tu B'Shvat and had a cool greeting on it. And we hand delivered those to about 50 of our best donors. And that was me and the CEO and a couple of the board members. And we literally went to their offices and their homes and just said thank you and handed them this great little tree. Now, needless to say, we had about 6,000 donors, so we couldn't deliver 6,000 trees, right? So we did the top donors there. And then we took the middle donors, right? Those between maybe 1,000 and there was probably about 10,000. And we got a really beautiful organic card. And inside we put a packet of seeds. We wrote a handwritten note. We hand addressed the envelopes. We put stamps, live stamps on them, and we mailed those seed packets out to our mid-level donors. And it had a really nice message about caring for the earth and what an important Jewish value that was. And then we took that message and we dropped it into a well-designed, very beautiful email, and we sent that e-blast to everyone else, okay? So do you see the layering there? Same content, same concept, all around Tu B'Shvat, but for 3 different groups based on how much time and effort we could put into those donors based on gift size. So when you think about your givers on Give STL Day, you might think about a layered stewardship approach. You may have a matching donor who's giving a lot to match all the gifts you get that day, right? You may want to do something very high level for them, but you don't want to leave the other people out. So layered stewardship can really help you move forward in that way. All right, so now I talked to you earlier about the fact that stewardship gets overlooked because we don't have deadlines. So here's some things you can do to create some deadlines. First of all, set aside a time every day to do something stewardship focused, like call 2 or 3 donors every day and thank them for their gifts, or schedule 1 hour per week. I'm going to take Thursday afternoons at 2 o'clock, get myself a Starbucks, and I'm going to handwrite notes for an hour, right? You can incorporate this into your moves management process to make sure that you are also thanking your major donors, right? You're saying, hey, how am I doing something special for each one of these people pretty regularly? And then you want to standardize as much of your stewardship plan as you can so that you do have some deadlines to create consistency. And I'm going to show you a spreadsheet that will explain that a little bit more fully. Here it is. And I think I picked Give STL Day. Yes, I did, to sort of show you what to do. If you look at the February, I think our little bar across the top is marking out the columns, but what you can do, I don't know if I can move that. Maybe, can I? I guess I can't. So each one of those columns has a different donor group. One is board, one is major donors, one is probably individual donors or giving club or foundations. And so you see each of those different donor groups has a different thing in a different month. Like the first group is the board, I know. And in February, they're going to get a call of thanks. In March, they're going to get a white paper, which is an explanation of something cool going on at your nonprofit with a handwritten note. In April, they're going to get their Give STL Day ask in advance of the actual day. Maybe they're going to come to the watch party in May, and they're going to get some special thanks there. And then maybe in June, you're going to send an update, an impact update. So if you will calendar the stewardship for each of your donor groups, then you will have some deadlines and it will make you stay on top of it so that you don't accidentally drop the stewardship ball. Okay, some ideas to consider. I'm going to give you 2 pages of this and then 1 page of stuff to stay away from. Okay, first of all, if your organization gets less than 100 gifts a month, call everyone every time and say thank you, right? So if you're getting 20 or 30 gifts a month, you certainly have time to stop and call every donor. Now you're like, Linda, I don't have all their phone numbers. Well, sometimes the database will add those in depending on the database that you had. You can get a phone number append and add people's phone numbers. You can actually, try to find ways to connect with them so you can get their phone. If you don't have a phone number, send them an individual email and say thank you. Just wanted to let you know we got your gift a couple of weeks ago. I know you already got your receipt, but I want to take another moment to say thank you. So every time you can thank somebody you want to. With the beauty of phones today, you can make thank you videos right on your phone. They do not have to be fancy. They can be meaningful, impactful, people who are being served, some staff, your CEO, a board member, just a quick video saying thanks. I love a tour video. If you have a place that can be toured, especially for older folks or homebound folks who can't get out and come see the kids in their natural habitat having a great time, just a little video would brighten their day. I love a new donor welcome packet, especially on Give STL Day. I know you're going to get a lot of new donors if we're doing our work right. And so when I get a new donor, I'm trying to grab them. I really want to get a hold of them and have them stay. So a new donor welcome package could have a letter from your CEO, hand signed, and a little love note. It could have copy of your annual report. It could have a brochure of your programs. It could have a little piece of kitsch that you give out to people when they come around, a pen or a sticker or whatever you have. Any kind of little package to show that they've joined your giving family is a really great thing. You can profile people in your organization and share that in your communication pieces. Have donors tell stories about why they give. brag on your staff members for the great work they're doing, brag on your board members for their commitment of their time, talent, and treasure, all of that being shared in your communication. Revise that thank you letter at least once a month. Nobody wants to get the same one twice in a row. This is a big one. Please think about this one. I get a lot of thank you letters and they all say, feels like, thank you for your gift of $25 or $50, $100, $1,000, whatever it is. That's the first line. As soon as I read, thank you for your gift of $500, I close the letter. You know why? I know what it is. It's a tax document. I throw it in my tax file, which I have right here on my desk, and I don't ever look at it. And you just lost your moment. You had me, I got it opened. And then instead of a great quote or something fun or inspiring or a great, number, 98% of the kids who go through our programs have life-changing experiences, you lost all that and you just went generic. Thank you for your gift of. Now, in your letter somewhere, you have to say your gift of $500 was wonderful. And so I know that I gave the gift of an amount on a date, but you don't have to start with that, okay? Handwritten notes continue to be a great thing. And I know that feels very old school for those of you who have been on a computer since you started, since you started life. But I'm telling you, people will go to their mailbox, pull their stuff out, and they're going to take the one thing that's got a handwritten address and a live stamp, and they're going to open it, and hopefully that's a note from you. Personalizing your annual report is a great thing to do. If you have a digital annual report, drop the report into an individualized email and handwrite, hey, donor X, I hope you're doing great. Hope you enjoyed your trip to Jamaica and the kids are doing well. Here's a copy of the annual report. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks again so much for all that you do, right? You can personalize it that way. If you're sending a hard copy, even better. You can send it in an oversized envelope with a handwritten note from the CEO. Make it very personal. This is a big one, guys. Find out how your donors like to be contacted. As you get to know them better, you'll find out what they like. I personally don't like the phone. Like, you can text me all day long or send me an email. I am all over that. But if you call me, I'm annoyed because I can't get to you. I can't, and then I have to listen to your voicemail, or then I feel bad because I haven't gotten back to you. If you send me an email or a text, I can get to that at some point. It's in the string, right? That's my personal thing. So find out from your donors how they like to be connected with, and you'll have a better chance of them talking to you and calling you back. And then consider replacing poorly performing fundraising things and turning those into stewardship events. So if you have a thing that you're doing and it's like this great thing where a lot of people come together, but the fundraising is not effective because maybe it's a wine tasting, or maybe it's a fashion show where you're having a lot of fun, but people aren't really captive. Maybe you just turn that into a thank you event, right? And you just let people come for free and you use the entire event to just love on them and thank them and update them about the wonderful things that you are doing. And that could be more impactful for when you are asking at another time. All right, now let's go into some naughty things that we might all do. So let's try to avoid these. And I just told you the first one. Stay away from that. Thank you for your gift of $25. This is a big one. Only thanking major donors in special ways. Everybody counts. Every dollar counts. Every donor counts. You got to find special ways to thank all your donors. And that layered stewardship is a good way to think about that. Offering gratitude only once or twice a year. Our goal always for our folks is at least 7 times a year, and you have to really work at it. If a person gives one gift, 7 thanks might be the immediate letter of thanks, a phone call of thanks, a handwritten note, the annual report, recognition in a newsletter, and that's 5. You have to keep working to get 7, but that's what you want to do, is be working at how you say thank you and say it well, consistently, and show them how their gifts are being used. Using the same thank you letters again and again, getting their name wrong. That's the death knell. I mean, it's really frustrating to people if you can't get their name right. Being insincere. I will tell you guys, as a donor myself, and we at Let's Both Hope give a decent number of gifts because we have a lot of clients and we love the community. I can't stand it when people feel generic to me. If they're not really grateful, then just don't do anything. Don't send anything. Don't call if you don't really mean it. Okay. Sincerity is a really important part of stewardship. Ignoring thanks, but asking over and over. That is one of the biggest complaints we hear from donors around our nonprofits is, I never hear from them, Linda, until they have their hand out and they want something. And boy, I don't know about you, but think about friends you have like that who never call you unless they want something, right? It just doesn't really bode well for the future of the relationship. Let's see, missing recognition opportunities at events. Events are a great way to thank everybody. Thank your board, thank your staff, thank your giving club members, thank your legacy society members, thank everybody who gave to Give STL. Just, you can never thank too much at events. It's a wonderful thing. I would say do it quickly and well at the beginning, but do it as much as you can. Ignoring those consistent givers or legacy givers, people who already have you in the will, people who've already told you they're going to leave you money, people who give to you every month. You know, they go on your website and they click that, yeah, make my gift monthly. Are you doing something monthly in response to that fantastic gift beyond that generic thank you? Are you letting them know, oh my gosh, thank you so much for giving over and over again? That's really, those are special people, and you want to make sure you're super careful with them. And then the final one is just not having that gratitude in your heart. And I will tell you guys, over the years of fundraising, it's been 28 years for me now. I've had times where I've asked for a gift, a bigger gift, $50,000, and I got 500. And I will tell you, it is really hard when you feel disappointed. And I know about you, but when I make a big ask and I think I have it and the donor gives me a lot less, I'm a little heartbroken, right? Because first of all, I'm thinking, what I do wrong and I didn't get it right. Oh my God. But here's the thing. You got to have that sincere gratitude in your heart, no matter what a donor gives you, because you don't know their circumstances. You don't know why. You can find out if you ask them why they didn't give the gift of the size you asked carefully. But donors can feel if you're not grateful. So really work on building that gratitude for every dollar. One of the things I think to myself when I get a smaller gift than what I hoped for is if I have $1 million to raise and I got 500 instead of 5,000, it's still 500 I don't have to raise, right? I got it now. So count that, check, keep on going, right? It's just part of fundraising. Sometimes you're going to be a little disappointed, but you got to keep your heart, you know, kind of clear and pure and have that gratitude. All right, so let's get down to the Give STL Day party. Like, finally, Linda, you gave us all the other stuff. Now let's talk about Give STL Day. First of all, here's my thing. Don't get to the finish line. You've had this great Give STL Day. Fantastic. You hit your target. You're right there at the 1 yard line and you drop the ball. Because if you don't say thank you really, really well, and a few times, you're going to have donors who get like, oh, I had this great experience, and then it just drops off. It kind of dies. So you work really hard to get these gifts, whether that's a major gift, a general gift, or a new donor. You want to make sure that you cultivate and steward them well so they will stay with you. Very, very important. So let that sort of sink into you and think, I got to make my stewardship plan now before Give STL Day even gets here so that I can do it really well. So those donors will be so happy they gave that they'll want to stay connected and committed and maybe hopefully give more years over time. Okay, because the truth is, and you guys probably don't think about this, donors give multiple gifts every year. Most people give more than one gift every year. They're going to give it to somebody. It might as well be you. And you can earn that gift by showing them how grateful you are and by showing them how you use their dollars. All right, stewardship for Give STL Day. So first of all, if you haven't done it, write yourself a note right now, wherever you are. Put a little note, a little sticky. I'm going to plan my stewardship right now. This week, I'm going to get it done. First of all, you're going to think about your segments. Do you have matching donors? Do you have people who are going to give bigger gifts, 5,000 or more, or 1,000 or more? Do you have a lot of general donors? Are you going to have new donors? Are you going to have reconnected donors who've been lapsed, right? Look at those segments. And then think about your resources. If you are going to thank people and do it well, what resources do you have? Do you have a lot of staff? Do you have a board? Do you have a Give STL Day committee? Do you have a development committee? Who can help you thank people and share the impact of the gifts? Because it can't just be you. My guess is you aren't going to be enough. All right. Make sure you think about those new donors and some special way to invite them and welcome them into the family if they give on Give STL Day, because you've worked hard to get them. They have a little interest. Somebody said, hey, we should give on this day. Grab a hold of them while you got them and try to retain them. Here's the other thing. I want you to go back and try to find out what your retention rate is. How many people have given in this most recent year that gave in the year before? I'll tell you what the national average is, and this is going to hurt your heart a little bit. It's about 45%. Now, I have to tell you, that makes me kind of sad. That's 4.5 donors out of 10 that I'm retaining. That means I'm losing 5.5, right? Or 6 and 4, 6 donors out of every 10 every year. I believe that we're losing donors because most of us are woeful at cultivation and stewardship. So I want you really to sort of let that stick in your craw a little bit and be like, oh man, I got to make sure that we don't get sucked into poor retention because we're not doing a good job of stewardship, right? One of the things we tell our clients is to figure out what your retention rate is and try to move it up just by a small amount every year, 5% every year. So let's say you're at 55% right now, and your goal for next year is 60%. And how are you going to get people to stay with you? By cultivating them well and by saying thank you and reporting on the impact of their gifts, right? Those things are going to really, really help. All right. So here's some specifics to do on the day of or the day after Give STL Day. First of all, call everybody if you can, call them all and say thank you. If they're new donors, make sure you ask the key new donor question is, thank you so much, so grateful. What motivated you to give this gift, right? Tell me why you decided to do it, and then let them tell you. It may be because a friend of theirs asked. It may be because they have some personal interest because of something that has happened in their life, but it's a great way to get to know your donors. Now you're thinking, wow, Linda, we have 100 people give on Give STL Day. I can't call them all myself. Well, this is where you can use your committee, your staff, your board, but you got to have things ready for them, like the script and an outline. You have to have sort of a list of things for them to say. I will tell you personally, I don't like a scripted call because I can hear the script as I'm listening. Okay. So I would say, give them a list of items, say who you are. Hi, this is Linda. I'm on the board of Chad's Coalition, right? I wanted to call and say, thank you so much for your gift on Give STL Day, because we have this fantastic program, Signs of Suicide. And when you give, you help us get it into another school. And we are going to be able to do that because of your $100. Thank you so much. And if you need anything, here's my phone number. Please call me back, right? Usually you're going to get a voicemail. So that kind of a thing can work. You can even have a phone bank, have a thankathon, kind of some pizza and beer or pizza and soda, and everybody get together and just get on the phone and call. Okay. If you don't have phone numbers, you can send emails. And I would say, again, don't do blast emails, do individual emails from your board, from your committee, from you, because it shows that personal touch and that care and thanks for their gift. All right. Now, if you've not made a lot of thank you calls in your life, I got this advice. I'm going to say 2005 is when somebody told me this, because I was just at a place where I was just kind of me and one other person, and we didn't have very many donors. And I thought, well, I got to take the stewardship up a notch. And I started calling everybody. And somebody said, how are you doing it? I'm like, oh, I'm at my desk, just picking up the phone, calling. And they gave me these tips, and I think they're good. First of all, before you call somebody, stand up, right? You're going to get blood flow. You're going to get yourself in a right posture. Take a good deep breath, put a big smile on your face, right? What happens when you put a smile on your face? Do it right now. It lifts your mood, right? It's going to make you feel a little bit better. And this is the best tip I ever got. I have two sons, Chad and Parker, very grown. I actually have grandkids now, Lily and Micah. And when I'm going to make a phone call, especially when I actually do it when I have to make hard phone calls, I will stop for just a second and I'll think about my kids. And I love Chad and Parker and would do anything in the world for them. They're so special to me. And when I think about them, even as I'm talking to you about them right now, I'm getting this warm feeling inside. And you know what happens when I get that warm feeling inside and then I call somebody? It comes right through the phone, right? They can feel this care that I have. And is the care for them? Kind of. Is it for my kids? Probably. Does it matter? No. They're going to hear the care that you have for other people. Maybe you think of the people at your nonprofit, some specific person that your organization has helped that makes you feel really proud and happy. That's going to come through the phone. And I think that's really important. Now you got to be prepared. You're going to get voicemail most of the time. Most of us are not answering numbers. We're screening our calls that we don't know. But sometimes you'll get someone live. I'm always a little caught off guard now. I make phone calls for Chad's sometimes when we do events. And maybe every 4 or 5 phone calls, I'll actually get a person and I'm like, whoa, you're there. So you kind of have to be prepared and be ready to say, hey, this is Linda, and sort of ready to go with your script, with your idea of what you're going to say. Make sure you use that sincerity and that authenticity. It's one of the reasons I don't love a script, because Emily and I and Greg, we all speak differently, right? We're going to sound a little different when we talk. So a script sounds generic. I want to sound like me, right? And I want you to sound like you. So be authentic, and also keep it short and sweet. When I call and thank someone, I don't waste a lot of their time. I don't want them to get a 4-minute voicemail, right? Quick, easy. They'll appreciate it. I will tell you, I got one not long ago. It was so good and it made my day. It was just, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds of somebody just being really sweet and saying thank you and saying how Let's Build Hope had helped them and appreciated the gift. And then I had a rough day. It felt so good at the end of the day. So just remember to kind of get yourself in the right heart posture before you make your calls. All right. Now we talked about the day of or the day after. Now we're looking at the week of. Okay. So now you've had your day and now you're going to go a little deeper into the stewardship. And you say, well, Linda, I already called and thanked them. Yep. That was step one. Here's step two. Handwritten notes of thanks to as many of them as you can. This is great for volunteers. Your staff can help. Even the larger organization staff can help. Every handwritten note that just says, if you don't know it, we just want you to know that you're very important to us. We are extremely grateful for your gift. And you may think, wow, Linda, I should spend that much time for $25 or $35. Yeah, you should. Because right now they've had a good moment. They care about you. They've watched you succeed. You've had a great Give STL day. Now is the time to really double down, triple down even on that stewardship. And then you want to do your organizational thanks really well. You want to send the thank you receipt, whether that's via email or hard copy. I would say I like a hard copy. I would prepare that thank you letter well in advance of Give STL Day. Because Give STL Day, especially if you spend a lot of time on it, is probably going to be fairly tiring for you. You're going to be really busy. And so you don't want to have to try to like show up the next morning and try to get your creative juices flowing to write a great thank you letter. Do that now. Do it on a day when you aren't as pressed for time, and get it all ready so the day after or the week after you can make sure it gets out and is really, really well done. All right. Now month of. You're like, more, Linda? We're doing more? You are. My goal for you is that you would do at least 3 or 4 touches in 30 days. And you have got to be thinking, Linda, for heaven's sakes, I have a job. I'm really busy, got a million other things to do. That's true. But here's the thing. You've had a moment. They've appreciated it, especially for your new donors. You're trying to retain them and get them excited about your cause. You have about 30 days to do that. And then they're going to forget about all this joy and excitement that happened around Give STL Day. And so you want to make sure that you really go as far as you can. I would say add 2 additional meaningful touches. You can report on your Give STL Day outcomes, like how much money you raised and what that's going to do, right? We raised $47,520. That's going to help us serve, 432 people through this one program, whatever it is. And here's how it's going to change their life. You can talk about how your gifts help throughout the year. So as you give the gift, here's all the other things that are happening. You can invite them to come and have a coffee with the CEO. You can offer a tour option if you're tour friendly. You can send event invitations with handwritten notes on them. You were such a great donor on Give STL Day. We'd love you to come to our brunch that's coming up. And I'd love to meet you in person. Those are simple things you can do. Meaningful touches. Again, not generic e-blast, but individualized things that make people feel like, wow, these people really have their act together and they genuinely want me to be part of their giving family. And then for new donors, I want you to think right now, even as we're talking and you're listening, on how you can cement your relationship with these folks. That immediate call with that question, what motivated your gift, is really, really important. That personalized thank you from the asker would be great. So if I said to one of my friends, hey, we're having Give STL Day and I'm on the board at Chad's, would you give today? And they give, and your board member helped get those people to give. It's great if the board member herself calls them back and says, oh my gosh, I saw your gift came on Give STL Day and I wanted to say thank you. You're helping us really make a difference. So you may need to pull some reports and share those reports with your board members so they will know that their friends gave gifts. That might be important. The new donor welcome packet, which we talked a little bit before about. And then this last one is really important. An opportunity for them to get connected to the mission, where they come to the site, have a tour, meet a senior staff member, meet the CEO, something that's going to really kind of close the deal on, wow, you know what? I am really interested in this nonprofit and I would like to get more involved. Maybe I want to be on a committee or do some volunteering or do some more giving or introduce some of my other friends because I like your work so much. You kind of want to grab a hold of people and really bring that together. And I think 30 to 45 days is probably all you've got. And you want to really use that as well as you can. All right, Linda, should I ask again this year? I will tell you, our clients have a tendency to be in one of two camps. They like to ask all the time, or they never ask, right? They, oh, we got a gift. Now we don't want to bother them again. Are you bothering a donor when you invite them to your cause to provide support? You are not. Now, if you ask them 2 times right together, maybe you are bothering them, okay? So people who care about your mission are going to be happy to be asked again, but there's some sort of if statements going with that. If you do this, right, these things, then they would be interested in giving again, probably. First, thank them sincerely, thoroughly, and well. Like really, really do a great job of thanking people. If you show them that their gifts are indeed making a difference, if you have a gift of $50, you better have done some casework so you can say $53 does X or $48 does Y, so that that gift can feel really meaningful to the donor, no matter the level, okay? If you do not treat people like an ATM machine, we have a visual of this somewhere here at Let's Build Hope, where it's like literally somebody sticking their card into a donor's mouth, expecting the money to come out, right? I think you have to remember that these are people that you're dealing with. They have hearts and souls and lives and thoughts and families and jobs and a million things going on. And so your interaction with them needs to be as meaningful and careful and consistent as any other really good friendship you would have. Now, you are not friends with your donors, friendly, not friends, but you want to build this very warm relationship with them. And anytime it feels like you're just trying to get money out of them, like that ATM machine, that's going to take the donors to a place they don't want to go, and it's not going to work for you, okay? Now, this is a big one. If you allow a reasonable amount of time for cultivation and stewardship between the asks, so let's say they have Give STL Day in May, right? And then you think, wow, I'm going to ask again in June. Probably too quick, okay? May, June, July, August, September, right? So you're thinking, if I'm going to ask in May, how am I going to steward for 2 or 3 months and cultivate so that by the time I ask them again near the end of the year, they feel great about our charity. They like me, they like the CEO, they see where we're going, they see how their gift made a difference. All that stuff is happening, and you're churning up all these good feelings so that by the time you ask 3 or 4 months from now, they're ready again, right? Because you've helped sort of prepare the ground. You've sort of tilled the ground. I grew up on a farm, right? You can't just stick a seed out there. You can't just throw them out there, right? You have to turn that dirt up and get some water on it and put the seed down in there, and then you're going to see some production. So make sure you cultivate and steward before you ask again. And if you are careful about asking for more, I'm a big believer in asking for an upgrade once a year, okay? Usually nearer the end of the year when people are more generous and more interested in giving. Some of our folks who use en masse solicitation, direct mail or online giving, they'll just build the upgrade in every time. And every time I get an ask, it's for more and more and more. Now, I want you to ask your donors for upgrades. I do at least once a year. You should be asking me for more money, but you shouldn't be asking me literally every time you're in touch, right? Because then it's starting to feel like, whew, what I'm doing is not enough. It feels a little greedy. We don't really want that. Okay, so be careful about when you ask for a larger gift or for more money. It's fine to do it. People are generally making more money each year, and so they are willing to give a little bit more, but you got to be careful not to sort of overdo the upgrade. All right, and when can I ask again? It does depend. It really does depend, because every donor is different. Let's say I give on Give STL Day, and I've been giving here and there, but for some reason, all the stuff that you do, both on the day of and in the stewardship, just gets me really excited. And you call and thank me, and I'm like, man, I loved it so much. And you say, well, wow, you should come for a tour. And I get excited and say, yes, I will, right? So I come for a tour, and I see your fantastic mission, and I'm even more involved and engaged. And maybe I'm seeing some program going on. I've got tears in my eyes. I'm really interested. And I'm like, you know what, this really reminds me of my own life and my own childhood and how people helped me. And I would really like to get further involved. A donor may in a few weeks give you another gift, right? They may be so moved by what you do and so connected to it personally, they're interested in giving you more. And the donor will let you know that when you connect to them. If they're excited, they'll want to give more, and they'll show you that. Often they'll ask you, hey, I love this program. How much, how much does it cost to pay for one of these people to go through? Or how much does it cost for a day of programming or this 3 weeks of training? How much is that? When people start asking you how much things cost, they're ready to give again, right? They want to help, okay? Most of the time, people will want a little cultivation and stewardship between 3 or 4 months of good cultivation and stewardship, especially when you're doing more group solicitation and more group stewardship, because it's going to take a little longer to sort of get me churned up again and excited to provide a gift of support. So this is why, and I hope, please tell me you all are doing an annual plan every year, 3 months before the fiscal year starts, and planning this all out. So you're planning the asks for every group, and you're planning all the cultivation that goes in between and the stewardship, so that you know, here's an ask, all this cultivation and stewardship, and then another ask after that, right? You got to plan all that stuff in advance. You kind of can't do it on the fly. You can't do it reactively. You need that plan for the whole year. All right. So how do I maximize Give STL Day? Well, there are multiple ways to maximize your retention from Give STL Day. First of all, I want you to remember, Give STL Day is great and it's important, but it should just be a part of your fundraising strategy. It should not be all of it. And the day itself is the beginning of this work, not the end, okay? The beginning of the work is they gave the gift. Now the real work begins, stewarding and then cultivating again to continue to move them closer to the mission and to their next gift. How do you maximize? You got to create that stewardship strategy now. I hope that when we all hang up today off the Zoom call, you're going to sit down and you're going to get on your calendar, you're going to block out a couple hours and you're going to build your stewardship strategy right now for Give STL Day. And hopefully, if you don't already have one, you're going to build it for the whole year. You're going to build a lot of goodwill with people by saying your thank yous very, very well. And I'm hoping when I finish talking here, it's always so hard just to talk and not be able to really see you. I'd like to hear back from some of you ways that you are saying thanks well, because the beauty of stewardship is it can be wildly creative. And that's one of the things I really love about it. I'll give you an example of one that I love. Might be my very favorite stewardship thing I've ever heard. I worked at a university a million years ago, and this actually happened at the university before I got there. There was a man, an older gentleman, who gave money to buy the band at the university, all new instruments. They needed them, right? And so he just retooled the whole thing. And so for his birthday, the band put on their band uniforms and got their new instruments, and they took them out in a bus, went to his house, stood in his front yard and played Happy Birthday in his front yard on the instruments that he bought. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think that's super cool. You know, that guy had to feel fantastic. Think about the goodwill that was built by somebody just taking the time, energy, and effort. There was no real cost to that, just time, energy, and effort to really build that goodwill by saying thank you very well. So you do want to inspire your board to help you, and then you want to brag on your board as much as you can. So ask them to help you thank, okay? And then when they do it, brag on them. Say, man, we have 17 board members and 15 of you stopped and made calls, wrote handwritten notes, helped us with a stewardship event, whatever it is. You want to engage your board in this part of the fundraising process. Because honestly, guys, the stewardship part's the fun part, right? And we're always kind of feel like the board ought to go get the money. Well, it's helpful for them to network us to other people and to help us get gifts. But it's a fun thing to do, to be able to say thank you to others. It's a heartwarming thing. So get them engaged and then brag on them publicly as you're able. Use as many staff and volunteers as you can. And even internal staff will get a kick out of it. Because the truth is, when you talk to a donor and you call and say thank you, usually they're shocked. You know, they're shocked that you're calling me because I gave $50 to Give STL Day. You're like, yes, we are, because your $50 is going to help us help more people. And that's what we care about. People are stunned. And then it kind of gives you that good feeling back that you've been part of this wonderful process. Make stewardship activities fun. It's always great to have a thankathon or a time when people come together and can enjoy it. You can have some fun competitions. How many people are you willing to call and who called the most? There's a lot of ways to make it fun. Try to do those 3 to 4 touches in the first 30 days, especially with those new donors, right? You've got that first gift. Make sure you do 3 or 4 good touches so you can really start to cement that relationship and pull them in for good. And then focus on that new donor retention immediately and try to make sure that's a lot of fun for them and for you. And I know you're thinking, oh my God, Linda, this sounds like a lot of work. It is work. You have to do some planning, and I get that. But it also is a lot of fun if you kind of set your own heart up to be grateful. And you may have to stop and just sort of work on that. You may need to take some time to yourself. I have to say, I used to make thank you calls at a specific time every week. I worked at this one place for 5 years. And when I first started, we had very few donors. And I would say to myself, I just gotta have to get myself in the right mindset. Maybe I have to go outside and walk around in the sunshine, or get my Diet Coke or whatever it is, go talk to a friend, get my heart posture right and myself in a good space before I practice stewardship, because people can really feel it when you mean it, when you enjoy it, when you truly are grateful. It is going to have an impact on your nonprofit. And I know you're like, Linda, how can you prove that? I actually can prove that. Some of you may know Penelope Burke, B-U-R-K. She is a fundraising guru in Canada. I've been following her for years and years, and she's done tons of research on stewardship. And it's interesting because she does this research that comes back with something that we probably should all know. And the crux of much of her research has been the donors saying, when nonprofits are nicer to me and more grateful, I give them more money. Shocking. Really? It's hard to believe, right? So she's done research and made a career out of sort of donor-centered fundraising. And all that really means is making sure that the donor enjoys the experience so that they will continue to stay with you and be a supporter. All right. So I think that we are at the end of our slides, because there's my cat. And I'm hoping that we have some questions, and I'm hoping that some of you are going to be willing to share some of your stewardship wins. I have lots of stewardship stories I can tell you, and I kind of want to do that at the end, but I would love to hear from some of you if that's possible. So Emily, can you jump in here? I'll stop my share, and hopefully we can do some chatting.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, I'll take the spotlights off of both of us so that we can, where'd you go? There you are. All see each other. Thanks, Linda. That was super. I haven't seen any questions come through in the chat, so I just wanted to remind everybody you're welcome to put those in the chat now, or at this time you're welcome to come off mute and just ask them directly to Linda. Linda, I did have a question for you. I was just curious what the most memorable thank you that you've ever gotten was, whether it was for a good reason or a bad reason.
Oh, well, gosh, that's a loaded question. I've had some bad ones. The majority of the bad ones have a tendency to encompass somebody thanking me like in a piece of mail and asking me for a gift in the same piece of mail. And that is one of the most disappointing things ever, because as a donor, when I give money, I feel like that money meant absolutely nothing to you. I am a machine. You want more money. This has nothing to do with our relationship or this cause, that kind of thing. I will say we get thanked a lot here. Our clients especially know they better thank us well, because we're teaching them to say thank you. So I have gotten, one of the things that's simple that you guys probably don't think about, as you know, your donors, I got a text. I was out in Denver and I was doing a really hard project. I mean, I literally lived out there for a year while I owned Let's Build Hope to do this project. This company was in a lot of debt, and it had been a hard year, and we were going to have a huge gala. It was about $1 million gala. And the morning of that gala, I get up and I get a text message from a fundraiser in St. Louis who I had talked to weeks before, and I had talked about the gala. And he remembered the date, took a note, and on the morning of the gala sent me a text message and said, "Hey, Linda, hope it goes well tonight. I'll be thinking about you, sending my best vibes. Let me know, right? I'll follow up." And the thoughtfulness of that he remembered that from weeks before, and he knew that was going to be a stressful day for me. Oh my gosh, that went so far. It gives me goosebumps now thinking about it. Like, it just went so far for me that he was so thoughtful. So sometimes it's not a thing. It's just that thoughtfulness and that unexpectedness of that was really powerful.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's something that I'll try to put into practice in my own life.
Now I really want to hear from some of our teammates here. I know some of you guys are out there saying thank you. Well, I'd love to hear from some of you. Brag on yourselves. I want to hear it.
Hey, Linda, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Doing well. Good morning, everyone. I've heard some insightful things today that I want to put into practice at Caritas. We have a small shop, so doing stewardship is a challenge just because of the amount of donors that we have. But with that, we do try to do some personalized things. So with Caritas, we are a human services nonprofit, largely providing child welfare services. But what I like to do with our donors is really listen to them and get to know them, even on a personal level, even though, we're not friends, like you said, but we're friendly. So one of our monthly donors, he shared with me that he got a puppy, and he was so excited about this puppy and how it was giving him some companionship after he lost his wife. So with his next thank you card that I sent him dog treats.
Oh, fun.
To welcome his puppy into his family. And he called me immediately and was just so excited that I listened to him. So like I said, he's supporting us because of kids and people, but what was important to him in his life was this dog. So for me, that's just sharing with you guys to really listen to what's going on in your donors' lives, so that way they know that you care about them just as much as they care about your mission.
I love that. I love that, Ashley. That's a great idea. And I think, just like I said, anything that feels personal to that person. I had a fundraiser. My newest granddaughter was just born about 8 weeks ago, little Lily Alexandra. And one of my favorite fundraisers in town saw that on my Facebook page. And I'm a donor to her nonprofit, and she's right to it. Send me a congratulations on baby Lily. That's so cool. Do you have any pictures? Duh, yes, videos, name it. I've got all that. And she's done a couple more touches since then, saying, hey, how's Lily, and how's Micah doing now that he's got a little sister? And you're absolutely right, Ashley. It just feels so good to have people care about you as a person. And you're right, we are in relationship with our donors. There are boundaries to our relationship with our donors, but they are real relationships. And your donors, if you spend time with them, are going to become really important parts of your life. I see somebody else.
Afternoon, Miss Linda. Quick question. So when you have, I guess, more so organizational donors, how do you make those special moments when it's to an institution, not necessarily to a person?
That's great. Well, the truth is that every organization, there is a person, right, somewhere inside that organization who's doing it, right? The grants don't read themselves. Somebody over there is reading it, right? So sometimes I call and say that. I'll ask questions like, who's managing our account, and who is the person who did that? Because you can't thank an organization. You can, but it gets lost. In fact, I got a thank you, really nice, beautiful thank you box of stuff the other day, but it just was generically addressed to Let's Build Hope. And I didn't know if it was for me or there's 14 of us. I didn't know if it was for someone else. And a couple of weeks later, one of my consultants said, did you get a box of stuff? And I'm like, yeah, was it for you? So really that's a great question, because if you just send it to the organization, I put the treats in there and everybody ate them, and she didn't really get thanked, So you kind of have to make that next step to find out who over there is really connected to you and start building that personal relationship, because that corporate thing, it's just going to get lost. And I hated that because the touch was beautiful. It was really well done, had a beautiful note inside, but it wasn't addressed to anyone, right? So then it kind of got lost. Great question, by the way. All right. Who else? Who else has a good stewardship story or a bad one? Ooh, I have some bad ones, but I try not to tell those. It's too depressing. Courtney, I see your name on there. Hi, Courtney. I see people I know. Lisa.
Well, I guess if there aren't further questions and oh, Nancy, I see you come off video. You got something for us?
It's kind of dark here. I don't know if you guys can see. Oh, you need to mute yours for a second. Can we mute your? Am I echoing?
You are a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
Still echoing.
We got two of us. Mute your audio. Anyway, so besides doing the receipt letters, I always have I worked at a school before, and I would have kids make the cards, but now I'm at a pet clinic, and so I just have the clients make a card. So every time someone gets one, they get like this kind of card, and it would tell a story. Like on the back, it says, thank you for donating. It really helps us. without breaking the bank, things like that. And like this little kid drew a picture, little jelly bean. So then I'll make like 100 of these. And then so for this month, they get the receipt plus like this. And you were kind of talking about that personal touch. That just kind of helps tell the story. So that's something that you might be able to do, just take the best card that someone has, make 100 copies of it. And that's what you do for this month. And the next month, have another one that goes out, because people really do love. And when I did this at the school the first time I did it, because they never had done that before, 3 different ladies had given like $300, $500, and like $600. And so I gave them the card, and the kids wrote really cool stuff. And immediately all 3 of those wrote another check, like right away, and sent it right back. They were like, that card just touched me because I really got to see the kid's heart. So just really want to emphasize, just really sharing the mission of your story and the heart. It just really helps. So
I love that. I love those. Those are super cute. Yeah. I got something yesterday. I got a cool little box of 2 personalized cookies, and one of them had their logo on it and one had a thank you on it. I don't eat sugar, so that was a little bit of a miss, but I'll give it to my team. But I did get a really nice handwritten note, and the note was very specific to, I'm in their giving club. And so it talked about the giving club and what exactly it does. And it provides assessments for kids who've been through trauma so they can treat them. And so it really clearly said, because you give, X number of kids have been able to get this assessment that will help them on the road to treatment from their trauma. And man, the cookies were nice, but that note was so specific to what I was helping with. Again, it kind of gave me the goosebumps. I stuck it on my refrigerator. I will tell you, I'm not much on kitsch. I don't like a lot of stuff, because if you're a donor to a lot of different places than we are, you get a lot of it. So if you're going to send something, I like it to be either consumable, perishable, or usable, like really that I'm going to use it. I got one of these cups from Provident. I'm in a group there called the Navigators. And that's a giving club where you give every month. And I pick that cup up every day. Like, it's got the suicide prevention hotline on it, right? So I'm like, oh, the number's right there. So it's something that's actually useful and usable, not just some more stuff. So as you're thinking, so what I think of it, Nancy, is you personalize it to what you guys are doing instead of just this generic thing, right, with your logo on it. So be careful as you think about things. Is it going to be a thing that people are going to use and think of you in a positive way or even notice? Or is it just going to be another piece of kitsch? And I have to tell you guys, I am not a hoarder. I do not keep things. So if it comes here and I can't use it, I throw it away. And then I feel guilty for throwing it away because I know the nonprofit spent money and I'm like, oh crap, I wasted their money. But at the same time, I just, if I can't use it, I'm not going to keep it, so be aware. I did get it at New Year's. Somebody delivered it to my house, a huge New Year's package with all of this stuff. It had sparklers and a hat and all of this stuff. And I just couldn't quite, once I got into the guts, they had some stuff about the mission, right? And I read that stuff and I thought about that stuff, but all that extra, again, it's literally still sitting in my garage. It was so big and I didn't know what to do with it. Like, I don't like to do the New Year's thing. So it was not a thing for me, it was a lot of stuff. So had they just kind of gotten more specific with one thing and with something about their mission, which is what I was looking for, I think they would have gone a little bit further with me. All right. Anybody else have a good idea? I love to steal your good ideas, by the way. So if you have them, feel free to jump in here and share. They're all quiet today.
It's quiet, and I see that people are dropping off. So
Okay.
I think we can give you back a little bit of your morning, everybody. Linda, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
This was super helpful. Took a lot of notes. As I said before, this recording is going to be available on the trainings page of our website, as well as a PDF of Linda's presentation. And Linda, I'm pretty sure that PDF includes your contact information, just like the last one did. So we really appreciate everybody making the time. Thank you for being here. Hope you learned something, and catch our last training on April 4th. We're almost done. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and the meeting, and hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
All right.
Linda.
Thank you,
Bye.
Linda.
Bye-bye.